trying to raise money for a company that is going to take on the Japanese or compete with the Japanese in one of their targeted markets, you won't raise money.
What you're saying is that the capital markets believe that if you're going against Japanese competition, you don't have a prayer.
Absolutely.
Planar manufactures highly specialized screens for the Department of Defense. To enter the consumer market, Planar would have to invest $100 million in new facilities, but the numbers just don't add up.
Can we sell this particular display at the prices that we had laid out? And so
at the current market price, Planar would lose money on every screen. A disaster for an American company, but not for a Japanese company in a target industry.
When Americans ask, is Hitachi making a profit on semiconductors? You always want to say to them, even if we had the information, you've asked the wrong question. Hitachi doesn't care. They're carrying semiconductors because it's the industry of the future. It's an industry they know they have to be in, and they're going to be in it.
The greatest pressure on them is format change versus performance enhancement.
To Jim Hurd, Japan's low-price strategy has a single objective: to ensure that no one can make a competing product and stay in business.
The Japanese, contrary to popular opinion, don't have any interest in losing money. So what they want to do, the strategy is very clear. You want to go into these markets. You want to drive competition out. You want to come down the cost curve as fast as possible. But as soon as the competition is gone and the users of the displays have no choice, the price goes up.
As it stands right now, if you're an American business in a high-tech industry competing with the Japanese, you are in the business of going out of business.
The department should use the best information available.
The Department of Commerce found the Japanese guilty of dumping flat panel displays. But for Jim Hurd, the fight is not over. He must now go to another federal agency and prove the dumping actually hurt his business.
Oh, great.
I welcome you to this hearing on behalf of the U.S. International Trade Commission. The hearing is on investigation number 731, TA469, final involving high information content, flat panel displays and sub-assemblies thereof from Japan.
The final chapter of the flat panel case. It has taken 1 year.
The purpose of the investigation is to determine whether an industry in the United States is materially injured or is threatened with material injury.
Jim Hurd and his fellow entrepreneurs are facing new opposition. Only this time, the opponents are not Japanese.
If you don't have the right technology, you're not going to make my cut. And if you don't have the ability to produce that in volume so I can make some money out of it, then you won't make that cut.
American computer companies buy their flat panels from Japan. They claim the Americans don't make the products they need.
Our experience in sourcing flat panels from the U.S. has been a series of dead ends.
But Jim Hurd claims companies like IBM, Apple, and Compaq had a chance to buy American.
No company, Japanese or American, had those displays readily available at all. They were all new developmental items that had to be developed for those applications. U.S. companies were every bit as capable of developing those products as Japanese companies.
The motive, says Hurd, was profit. The Japanese promised to supply huge quantities of laptop screens to American computer companies at half what it cost to make them.
Indeed, if you're an American consumer, it is a good buy in the short term.
In the long term?
In the long term, it's probably a disaster.
The same Japanese companies that make these flat panel displays also make computers. So the U.S. computer companies have become dependent on some of their major competitors for key components of their own products.
It can get to the point where the American company is dependent upon the Japanese technology, and therefore the Japanese can dictate terms to the Americans on what they will and will not do.
They can cut off their supply.
That's right, cut off their supply. And if the United States does not have the technology, then they can't make the products.
The companies that we once thought were great manufacturing companies, IBM's, Compaq's, Apple's, are really very much hollowed out compared to what they were. They are now really repackagers or assemblers.
Seeking short-term profits from dump components, the U.S. portable computer manufacturers have all ended up buying components from the same Japanese suppliers. Look on the back of Compact's flagship model LTE 386. It proudly proclaims, assembled in the USA.
So what we're going to do now is to dress some of you in one of these yukata here.
Today we're seeing the largest unilateral transfer of wealth that the world has ever experienced from the United States to Japan.
What's the significance of that?
It means that we're going to be a much poorer nation. It means that in the late 1990s, the first part of the 21st century, we're going to have fewer choices. It means a declining standard of living for our children, if not for ourselves.
Fourth of July in the year of Desert Storm. Celebrations of American supremacy make the economic challenge seem far away.
Come on, guys, whoop it up here.
If critics of U.S. trade policy are right, America is in for some very hard times. Free enterprise means something different in Japan. Al Pace learned that the openness and individualism that are the strengths of American free enterprise can become weaknesses.
No Japanese business is an individual. It's a team. When you talk to a Japanese businessman, you might as well be talking to their government, to their finance ministers in banking, to their trade representatives, to their industry representatives. You're dealing with a plan, a blueprint.
The war for global markets is about more than just jobs. It's about the kind of choices and opportunities there will be for America's children. America won the war in the Gulf. The question is, will America win the economic war that will shape its future?
The American public, the American government is capable of an enormous response. Desert Storm is an example of that. We need a Desert Storm from American industry.